with Dr. Leyland. Step into the future, the world is waiting now. Dreams are in the making, we'll show you how. From the books to the screen, from the stage to the stars. Level up your game, let's raise the bar. Innovation, inspiration, it's in our DNA. Breaking through the limits, we're paving the way. Level up, reach the sky, take the lead, don't be shy. Your story's worth it, your light will shine. At Level Up Academy, it's your time. Oh, it's your time. At Level Up Academy, we rise and climb. Empowered in your passion, your voice will be heard. Building a legacy with every word. From podcasts to pages, from business to art. Level Up's the place where it all can start. With heart and with vision, we're chasing every goal. Together we'll ignite the fire in your soul. Level up, reach the sky, take the lead, don't be shy. Your story's worth it, your light will shine. At Level Up Academy, it's your time. Oh, it's your time. At Level Up Academy, we rise and climb. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Oh, we're trailblazing, breaking through the mold. Dreams are alive, let your story unfold. With courage and pride, we'll take the fight. At Level Up, we own the night. Level up, reach the sky, take the lead, don't be shy. Your story's worth it, your light will shine. At Level Up Academy, it's your time. Oh, it's your time. At Level Up Academy, we rise and climb. So let's level up and never look back. On the road to greatness, we're on the right track. Together we'll soar, together we'll thrive. At Level Up Academy, we're alive.
Hello, everybody. I'm a little off right now because I'm in a different house. This is not a background. And also, we have a lot of unmute by design because I'm thinking like Susanna definitely and I are going to write this book together, but we just need to figure out what chapter is what chapter. That's for sure. But I think as we research more on things that we are doing, because I always like to make sure that I am almost accurate. I cannot say 100% because there's always room for improvement. There's no such thing as, oh, it's perfect. But I tried my hardest as an ethical person to provide backed research into what we're doing. I'm working on trademarking voice framework, actually. So that's actually, and the brand I can trademark, the lessons and plans I can do copyrights, which automatically anyway, if I'm teaching it based on federal law. Anyhow, today, actually, we are doing, I guess there's this different segue. That's why I'm saying, like, when we write this book, I'm going to figure out the ways to do it. It's a lot of going on in the world right now. And I think people are trying to find money, right? Like financially, how can we do side hustles? No longer where one person is working unless you're making like tons and tons of money to support your family, even a family of two, right? Or a family with two kids. So you have to have like a side hustle, which the culture I think that we have, not just in the United States, I think everywhere in the world, it requires to do side hustle. Another thing that is a really good case study is um, TikTok. Apparently, by August, no, September 5th, it's gonna have its own app by Meta. So I guess Meta, a bunch of billionaires basically bought TikTok America. And so by 2026, March 2026, um, they are going to phase out TikTok apps. So you're going to have to, I don't know if we're going to have to download Meta or anything like that. But I like to actually see that as a anthropological trend, as a culture. We're studying culture as it evolves, but it's so weird because we're studying it while we're living it. It's so exciting, but like scary at the same time. Because most of the time when you study anthropology and culture and human is the past. So you can see the prediction, but this time you can actually study the present because it's happening, which is exciting, right? That is the reason, more reason that it's so important for everyone to unmute by design. Um, so this is gonna be like an amazing thing. So with this one, because of the side hustle culture that we have, I have, let's see, two, four, six, seven things every single week that we're gonna talk about. The first one today that we're gonna talk about is authority anchors, right? This is about crafting a power line position with proof. Receipts is what they call it. And then the second one's going to be media engine, platform power, lead capture, like how do you capture your lead, intellectual property and offers or IP offers, like any workshops or VIP deal, funnels and fees, and then of course scaling it up for your business. So we're going to talk about those. Susanna and I will probably have people that we're going to interview here for you guys live. We're going to look for people that are um, an expert, right? I can actually say that an expert on certain things like the media engine, the platform engine. I'm going to scour social media to see how I can do that in terms of um, adding value to the conversation. How are you doing today, sister?
I'm doing good. It's going to be cooler, so I'm happy about that. I mean, okay, so it'll be like 86, but dropping 15 degrees is like going into the freezer, isn't it? From 100.
Oh,
But then
yeah.
also, as you were talking about this, and you talk about studying the culture as it's happening, I'm I was thinking about because I've written a lot in terms of awareness and nature, and basically what you're doing is you've got an awareness of what's going on right now. You're not It's not just so you know what's happening, you're aware of what's going on, you're looking at it in real time. And it's kind of like what I did with nature, going through the forest and in real time watching the seasons change. Because normally it's like you said, we go through this and it's like you look back and, oh, it was like this, now it's like this, it seems like it just changed like that. But when you watch it actually unfold and happen, it's a whole different deal. And it's going to be a lot of fun, just going through this process of watching the culture as it goes.
As it's rolling, yeah. And so I was thinking about this, and we were talking about it yesterday, right? We're like, what's going to be tomorrow? And I really look at the Unmute series. I have so many ideas that I've listed on my notebook, and then I couldn't find my notebook. And then I put it on my Excel sheets. I was like, oh, I found it. Um, there's certain chapters, and this is a sub chapter of a chapter. So, we last week we had a different chapter, like the unknown and the psychology part of it, the voice framework, which I wrote a newsletter in. It's usually if my student asks a question and I have the answer, but then I thought, oh, wait, this would benefit the rest of the world. And so then I'm like, oh, wait, I'm going to write this. Oh, wait, I add this. And I'm like, oh, wait, like, so it goes into a loop. So I actually wanted to think of that. So I think we already have at least three chapters for sure, right? Like the first one is self-awareness that we were talking about. But then the voice framework and how that works really. Because I think most of the time people will try to find solution and think that that's the end, right? That's the end of my problem. This is the solution. I think we need to go on a mindset that once you find a solution, you have an insatiable, as human being, because we evolved, we it's never an end solution, right?
Right.
It's not a black and white when it comes to life. It's actually continuous improvement. um but intentions and self-awareness has to marry each other, right? Remember my three C's, right? For success: clarity, courage, right? And consistency, and then radical accountability minus the ego is equal success. So that's another thing that I've created that I want to also write in that book, like the chapter. And then, of course, right now, um, getting into the Amplify. Now, sister, when you're talking about ideas, right? And to amplify your message, how, what is your thought process?
To amplify the message, it's one, trying to make sure that I'm clear on it, because that's, I mean, you can put the message out there, but if it's not clear, it's kind of hard to do anything. You're gonna just kind of be out there hit and miss, and I mean, I've been good at that as well, but really it needs to be more solidified, more set, and then being able to be consistent on the message when you've got it. um, and for me, it's, I have a number of pieces. I feel like I'm still working on what's best, because the other thing is trying to deal with the algorithm, or trying to ignore the algorithm and just do what feels right. Because um, I know a lot of us have seen the impressions and everything, just feel like they've dropped away. So many people, it's like they talk about what they used to have, and then they'll talk about what they have. And it's like, how much do you focus on the algorithm versus what your message really is, and making sure that that's what's getting out there, so that hopefully that hits the people that it needs to hit. And finding, and actually trying to be better at finding people to follow, interact, and hopefully share that message with, that you could end up working with.
The algorithm, like,
It's a dirty word.
I know, algorithm hustle, right?
I mean,
So here's the thing. When we talked about voice, I didn't go into detail because I was gonna do the voice like a Sunday, right? A Sunday show. And then I think I'm gonna have the 50 inspirational connection ambassadors come in at every single Sunday until the end of the month, because that's the last month. And then what I really wanting to do also is do the voice framework while we're doing the Amplify. So people are thinking like, what, how does that work? Well, first of all, okay, when it comes to voice, that is more of psychology, right? That is more of psychology. So if you think about the voice framework, you're basically saying, hey, right now what we're doing with the voice framework is really looking at this the next season, because I'm looking at it like a book and a chapter right now. Really think about it. If your voice got you speaking, Amplify should get you booked, published, and paid. Good news for you is that we actually do publishing, right?
yep,
So that is the good news. So, what I wanted to also look at when it comes to the amplification, right, is positioning. A lot of people are already able to create live streams. But now you have to think, okay, just like a lot of universities, LinkedIn just posted, their 50 top universities right now. And I'm thinking about it mostly, if you notice and if you pay attention, they're all mostly East Coast. Maybe you have USC and Berkeley in California, but most of it is literally New York, Boston, New Jersey, Connecticut, and things like that. And it's funny because I live in the hub of all of this, like Babson College, Harvard. I was 20 minutes from Harvard. I actually went to the campus. It's beautiful. When I live in Boston. And if you notice about it, it's like the reason that they're probably all on the East Coast, because that is the first 13 states in the United States. That's where it's all established, and old money, and all of that. And I have experienced it firsthand that I had two kids and I got a letter from the magistrate. They don't even have like mayor, they have magistrate, literally telling me, you better put your kids to school, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I homeschool my kids. And they're like, what makes you think you can homeschool your kids? Literally. It's crazy. And I was like, I have a master's degree. And they're like, oh, okay. And give me your plan. Like, they require you at 5 and 3 years old, or 5 and 2 years old, they require me to have a plan of my day for my kids in terms of learning. So I would take them to the museum, I would take them to the arts, and all of that. So if you think about really the cycle of amplification, it starts from believing in yourself that you can. But it also helps if someone else believes in you. And you only really need one person to really believe in what you're trying to do. So we're going to have literally like 16 series. Probably this is going to go all the way to almost December if you think about Unmute by Design. The first series is the voice, right? The voice framework, we're going to go deeper because there's a lot of study on that. Psychology, Bandura, social learning. I mean, we're going to uncover, like, you're on lecture mode with Susanna and I. And sister, I drag her into the educational industry, and now she found out it's not as easy as it is. She went from the army construction to education. But you know what? You should be proud of yourself because your degree got you here. If you didn't have the right degree, I couldn't even offer that. And most of the time when I was hiring, when I was a dean, I don't even look up people with master's degree. I needed people with doctorate degree, right? It's not me that requires it. It's the system that requires it. And it doesn't even, and that when I joke around that we make $2 an hour, we're literally due to make $2 an hour. Now, it's not a joke, isn't it? I literally didn't go to bed till like 3:30 trying to finish grading, and I still didn't finish grading. I'm in the middle of a move and it's like, but you just go with the flow. Now, when you think about, so we're going to go back and forth between voice framework and the amplification. And the reason for that, and that literally is two main theme, and that could be 10 chapters to 15 chapters, because the voice framework has a lot of psychology in it, right? And then the amplification framework also has backup on it, like literally. Okay, so think about this. Me and framework. So Amplify, Amplify. A is for authority and anchors, right? People will, okay, so if you're offering the same thing, if you're selling the same thing, right? Think about it. We're going to do this in a shopping mode. Puppy Lush. And our other friend, okay? We're just going to say other friend. Wait, I'll be right back.
I love it. Yes. This is going to be a lot of fun as we go through this. And the other thing that I just want to throw out there, because as you were talking about something and you talk about planning and all that, I put it into the notes, into the comments, as like feedback loops, because every time we put these plans together, and you're doing it, quite frankly, you're doing it as you are talking about both of the voice and amplify. It's like you're working your way through it, and then you're looking at it where's it going? It never ends. We never hit an end point, because when you get to what you think is the end, then you're going to adjust, and basically it's a feedback loop that goes all the way back to the beginning. I'm doing this with my business students. It's like every opportunity I get to throw in feedback loop. Don't know why, but I do know why. It's Alan Atkinson's fault with his sustainability systems, and it's like that was one of them. The biggest thing is, where are the feedback loops in the system? It's like it's stuck. I can't look at any of this stuff. I can't look at the business. Is like, you do this, you do this, you do this, and then you reevaluate, and you do this and this, and then you
You know
realize
what we could teach them too
feedback
is,
loop.
yeah, but also executive summary, right? I always tell my students, when you write an executive summary, whether it's for business plan or not, it is not, most people like me, my brain is very structured, so I do executive summary first, but that's not how it works. A summary means you're summarizing something. How are you going to summarize a blank page? You can't start as executive summary. Executive summary goes last. You're summarizing exactly what you are doing. Another thing I wanted to teach my students is that when they do PowerPoint, they read their PowerPoint and they take their paper, extrapolate all the information, and then dump it on the PowerPoint. Guys, the point of the PowerPoint is to summarize what you've learned and extrapolate information that I need as a decision maker. I don't care what your income statement is or your balance sheet is. I'm an investor. I do care about the big numbers, right? If debits and credits do not equal, then it's moot point. But here's the thing. When you are doing authority and anchors, this is for the A, proof, positioning, and signature promise is so important in your business, right? You need to provide proof of how you're doing it. We have a lot of proof. Positioning, I position ourselves with almost 200 followers in social media, right? And then the signature promise, we're always going to do things that are ethical. And we're humans, so we will make mistakes, but we will correct it and we will own it. The other part of that is M, which is media engine. We do podcasts, we do press release, we do repeatable pitching, literally, like you said, loop, right? And so here's the thing, the P is for platform power. LinkedIn is your friend, YouTube is your friend, podcast is your friend. You can be on my podcast in 6 continents and 155 countries or more through here, right? That's what we do. Now, here's the thing. For the L is lead capture. How do you create magnets? How do you create, email nurturing relationship? I think what you need to understand is that if you have a friend, okay, put it yourself in this situation. If you have a friend that you love and you cared for, and you only call them when you want something, right? How are you going to really see that this relationship is going to work out? Because she cares for me, but all she does is literally, or he does literally, call you when you need something, right? So how are you going to do that? You don't nurture those relationships like that. You need to nurture and call. And then the I for Amplify is keynote, workshops, courses, right? Which Susanna and I provide courses as well. And then F is for funnels and fees. Pricing your business, whether it's service or product, is super important. And we're going to talk, hopefully Danielle will be here to actually get us into the product business, right? I used to sell anime for 5.5 years. We had 3 stores, actually, my dad and I, physical stores. And when we did like a festival, we used to make like $85,000 cash selling stickers like in a day on a festival. And so we only worked Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because we had a full-time job and I had a kid at home, like 2 kids at home. So we did Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we hired someone to do the weekday on the other store, and then I'm on the other store, and then he works, right? So we closed the other store only on the weekend. And what's really, I wouldn't say bad, but what's really telling is that when you sell a product, but you don't have a customer base, your product sits. right? So your liquidity is actually sitting. You know, when you think like, oh, I'm rich, but I'm cash poor, right? It's because you have no cash, because all of your cash and your liquid assets is stuck on your product. You don't want that. You want enough product so that you can cycle. But when you have too much product and you don't have anywhere to dump, you're going to be desperate because there's expirations on those products, especially if they're food or household items. There's expiration. So if you can't sell it fast enough, that's an issue, because then you lose all your money and you're going to have to sell it at a very, very discounted price, right? And I teach that in accounting class as well. So you got to make sure those funnels and fees and packaging and pricing your product is not too low but not too high, but in between. But if you're the same pricing as everybody else, right, or your competition, what's your value? What's your value? And so now with the why, the amplification, the last part is yield and scale, right? This is where you put AI workflow, and I teach AI beginners, and then metrics that matter. So all of these things that we have for Amplify, Susanna and I are going to go into details. So last week I started with the voice framework because I wanted to show you like the whole synopsis of the framework. And then today I'm showing you on this Wednesday the framework of amplification. So those are the two themes: voice and amplify. Once you have the voice, now you need to amplify that voice. But there's framework within those two. What are your thoughts on that, sister?
Yeah, I'm just loving the way these two frameworks are going to align, how they align, because getting the voice, having talked about the voice and getting that out there has been it's just kind of when you sprung it out there at that last second, because that's really what it was. It's like suddenly it's like boom, here it is. I remember how excited you were once you had it. It's like, okay, we're talking about this. It's like you're doing a newsletter, you're doing this, because there was really something exciting about it. And then and too many people don't have that voice. But once you get the voice, what do you do with it? And so Amplify, I mean, I'm loving where all of this is going, because it's also so logical the way it's being put together. I mean, it's being put together in our own ADHD way, but ultimately it is logical. So it's, yeah, I'm excited to see where everything is going as we're going through this, and it's going to be an extremely busy and exciting time. That's what I'm seeing right now, because there's just so much to put out there. When you do a framework and you've got all these different steps, it's trying to help people understand what are these steps and make it as clear for them as possible, so that they can follow, that they can understand. It's kind of like when we talked yesterday, and we were going through some stuff, and I'm looking at it going, I didn't know that. And it's like, and you're looking at me going, I talked about it and I can't remember it. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's I just, it's there. I know it's there. And now I can, once I know it's there, I can work and get my mind. It may take me a little time to get it sunk in, but once it's sunk in, I'll be fine. It's just getting it there. And that's the same with these frameworks, to help people get it, so that it will sink in, and suddenly they're doing it and reaping the benefits of it.
Yeah, so our goal, right? My mission is to level up the world through education. And while I'm educating the world, I'm educating myself as well. And one thing I love is that I like actionable steps. And so we actually use applications, right? And we need to look at the theory and how we can apply. One thing that I love is that all the framework that I have is based on my experience. and my research. So when we do research and we marry the experience, it becomes real thing that there's actionable steps. I think the problem with theory is that that's all it is. It's theory. It's in air. So how are you going to make that theory work? Well, you got to test it, right? And if you test it, it's like saying, oh, does this plug work in here? And if you look at your computer and it's not charging, guess what? You tested it. It doesn't have power. You know what I mean? Like, but that's how it works. When you put in your phone and you're like, oh, I'm low on battery, what do? You plug it in. So when you're low in power, people do coffee. If you don't have enough knowledge, what do? You find knowledge. Like Bella said, we have no, as human being, no excuse anymore of not knowing something, right? Because there is AI, there is Google, there is Gemini, there is Perplexity. There's so many things that you can use now in your fingertips. There is no excuse. It's just a matter of finding the answer. And I think that's what Bella was like trying to get through, when she's explaining about that. But remember I said anthropology because Miguel, he's not here, but he's actually working on a lot of good stuff, and he's so grateful in our professional relationship and how he has evolved his anthropological research, and he's using himself as a test subject and in New York, right? So it's really amazing. Now, if you really look at why isn't my book sticking, if you're an author, right? So the plug and play, the anthro play, okay, is that reader ethnography. That means you got to look at and interview some of those readers, maybe even go to Reddit, go to Book Talk, whatever, and look at the imic language, meaning how readers describe their pain and hope. If you're reading a book, there's usually a transformation that you're waiting for or an entertainment. My students actually told me, I asked them, I was like, guys, what is the thing that you hate about like most of the time in classes? It doesn't have to be my class. It could be any class. And they're like, reading and writing. We hate reading and writing. I said, so how do you learn? They're like, we have to read. I'm like, exactly, right? So here's the thing. If 95%, all of us are walking, 95% of our selves are all subconscious, and 5% is conscious at any given day. Some maybe 2%, but I'm just saying, okay? If you're saying to your subconscious, I hate it, when you're doing the action, do you think your brain is going to grasp it? No, you're going to reject it. Just like when you were little and you're curious and you want to do something and your parents said, no, don't do that. But you really want to do it? So you start crying because you didn't get what you want, right? Because you're a kid and you're an adult. What do? You pout and you're like, oh, I don't want to do it, right? Because you're telling your brain, but that's what I want people to know. It's like, open up your brain, not physically, okay? Like literally just saying, okay, I don't like it, but always have that word yet. Not yet, but I will do it, right? Because we're talking about procrastination and time management. And I think procrastination is not because you're lazy. Procrastination is because you don't want to do it because you told your brain not to do it, right? But we're so quick to say you're lazy because you didn't do it. It's not that you're lazy. You didn't want to do it because you told your brain not to do it. So how do you NF that brain to do what you need to do? You have to be open-minded. And that is part of the anthropology, studying the culture, studying myself, studying my sister on those. So your narrative, so you got to look at your archetypes. That's why we're going to write this book, because if you look at your archetypes, you got to map where your book is going to be. What is the rite of passage to your readers? What is the crossroads? When you're reading a story, you usually have that hero's journey. I'm a regular person, immigrant who can't speak English, came to this country, and now I'm teaching. How did that happen? That's why we're writing this book also on the in space between, because we're going to talk about the ugly side of human being when you're trying to get to where you need to be. But no one talks about it, right? So I'm going to stop there because I want to take my sister's take on where my brain is going.
Where your brain is going. Okay, well, number one, all of this requires awareness. It's understanding yourself and understanding um, like you said, you're looking at yourself. You're always looking at me because if you're basically the only person that can get me to do certain things. But it's also because I have total trust in you too. Um, and that's, quite frankly, that is an important thing within everything, is that trust factor. What do they say? Know, like, and trust. That's what you want. You want people to know, like, and trust you. Um, which makes it easy for me to go who knows where on this, that ADHD brain. But we have, there are just so many things going on around us, and as we as we look at it, um, it's also been a case of, actually, we are, I feel like there's more awareness of everything going on around us as we talk about, um, we talk about these different aspects. When we talk about voice, when we talk about Amplify, we're bringing in not only knowledge that we especially with you, most of the psychology is coming from you, uh, um, but it's great having that, and you've drugged me into that world because of my uh, the paper that I'm working on. Uh, um, but it's important stuff to understand, to know, because there is a purpose to it, and it's finding that way. I think it's what I'm trying to do with some of my students, is finding that way to get the brain to like doing certain things instead of not. Because when you talk about the reading aspect, reading and writing, and how students aren't big on that, what I've found is, like with one group of students, I am in a unique position compared to most instructors, that I can talk business and I can align it to the military. And suddenly they have a whole new way of seeing business and understanding some of these aspects. With my history students, it's being able to come in with a variety of aspects. So trying to create time at the end of the day to go over topics that are gonna tug at them to want to learn more. And oftentimes it's not topics that we've already talked about during class as part of that focus. It's something that's totally different, yet can be relatable to it, because we're an ancient world, and I will talk about, Monday I talked about wars in Europe in the 1600s, and the great powers, and giving them some feel on that. Another time I'm talking about um, the different types of history, including cultural, social, giving them more ideas of what can be learned on everything. And at least what I'm seeing from their reactions is it adds to the experience. And that's really everything we do, everything we write. We want to add to the experience so people want to learn more. And I guess in a way help shift that brain thought to go from I don't like doing this to can I do some more? What can I read next? What can I write? What can I and create a feedback loop out of it, because I just feel like saying feedback loop.
You're so funny. Yeah, and I think part of our chapter that we're gonna also look at is giving a foundation of the archetypes. I think I already talked about the archetypes maybe a couple months ago, right? Like each one of us have our own type of archetypes, right? Um, Most authors usually are the undersung experts, right? They're best at turning deep know-how into obvious authority, right? They think of those things. And then we have the healer or the teacher, building that trust and behavior change. Everything, I think, is the core foundation to getting to know yourself is psychology. And a lot of people hate psychology because it gives a connotation that you're crazy just because you see a psychiatrist. No, I think we need to change that mindset, that if you see a therapist or psychiatrist, that you're actually doing yourself a favor of getting to know yourself. We all come from trauma. I don't care who you are, you're gonna come from trauma. And so when you are actually smart, in my opinion, if you look for help, because that's the only way. And then we have to talk about the trust. Like you say, okay, the only person that can change things that I want to do is um, you, because I trust you. But people says, how do you build that trust? Trust is something you build, right? To me, okay, I don't know about you, but I always ask my students, is trust given or earned? Right? Some people says, hey, I trust you 100% until you ruin it. For me, I don't do that. I trust you when you earn it. Trust is earned for me. You got to show me that you are a trustworthy person by action, not by talking. Because people can talk, that doesn't mean they're going to be good at what they're actually saying. People don't align their actions and their words, and I don't like that. And then you have the movement builder. Mike, I feel like, is a movement builder. He has a community. Shonda is also on that one, right? And then the phoenix, the reinvention, that's you reinvent yourself, and you're doing it. So when you're talking about how to reinvent yourself, there's no one other that I know that would be good at that, which is you, right? And then you get the fractional founder that's selling decisive outcomes to operators. And then you get the vertical specialist, like the people who just do business to business. You could be a salesperson, you could be whatever. And then you have the community centric coach. It's all about coaching how to be engaging in the community that converts to recurring revenue. Mike can also be that. I think what happens is our brain, we like to niche everything down. If you're one, you have to only be one. Why is that? I could be a salesperson, I could be a dean, I could be a teacher. Heck, I could do construction selling, which I did, by the way. Am I good at it? Yes, I'm good at selling. Construction, not so much. Like I can't dig ditches and not complain. I'm sure of it. And there's nothing you cannot do in this world if you put your mind into it. What I really like is that us as friends, as a circle of friends, we have small circle of friends. We don't look down on people based on their title. We look down, well, I shouldn't say we look down, but we distant ourselves on people that doesn't align with our values. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have money, you don't have title, who are you as a person? If you're a mean person and you're mean spirited, I don't want to deal with you. I don't care if you're a millionaire or billionaire. I don't want to deal with you, because then I have to always look at my back, right? I have to, like, how people say, like, you're only as good as your last sale. That's the word for that. And speaking of sale, we have our trifecta Maria's here. We're gonna have our sister Danielle come in, because she is gonna give us not only what she's doing, but also I'm hoping that she'll level up a lot more. Yeah. Here she is. How are you, sister?
Good. Can you hear me okay? My dog's
Yeah. Okay, your turn to talk. How are you doing? Keep us posted. What's happening in your world?
Yeah, so it has just blossomed, I guess, and a lot of things I think happen for a reason. And normally, business wise, definitely on the back end of things, normally not the one at the forefront of things. But I think that life kind of moves you in different ways. So when Elise, I just like to be honest from the get go, so kind of people understand is, this June she promoted from kindergarten to first, and she almost died in the hospital. So what did that do? Kind of thrust us more, because I, already caretaker for my husband who had 4 strokes, but even more so for my daughter now that was in the hospital, PICU for like 4 days, 3 days. And it makes you think differently about life and take a step back a little bit. And, yeah, it just makes you think about life, like, what you're doing, where you're going. And I wouldn't normally put myself out there, and not be like, at fairs or do that kind of thing. But my son, because, you know, Elise and like my husband have a lot of bills, right? And I'm like, okay, we're just not going to sit in it and be sad, right? So Ezra was like, let's do this for Elise, which is how this whole thing came about. And my son started to make keychains and stuff like that. And because Elise had Kawasaki, she had, you know, dry lips and needs to drink water to keep her blood pressure up and all these things, right? But everything is like she loses agency and autonomy, right? What person or 6-year-old, you know? So then, you know, you come up with these solutions, right? And I mean, I could show you better than I can tell you. So it's like, instead of telling her, it's like, make it cute, right? Make it cute so that she's going to do it. And I was like, oh, it's not proprietary. Oh, this is not something anybody could do. And I'm like, wait, no, not the way we do it. So, you know, you have this little stuffy, right? Because instead of like, she has to go get her blood work, she has to be in the hospital, she's scared, you know, hug it, right? And then you have your sanitizer because she needs to stay clean because she was immunocompromised, has a weak immune system. She needs to keep her lippies, you know, hydrated. Sorry, I'm saying all these baby words because, you know, that's what my daughter says. Pokies, lippies, this is our world, right? And it's like you have this little stitch. Like maybe she wouldn't want to do it if this was nothing against Carmex guys, sorry. I'm just saying add something fun and happy with it. And then add something that says, so no matter if we're with her or not, you know, she has this fun, encouraging word to remind her that me and her dad has her back, right? Like those are things that I never thought like, oh my gosh. And then we went to a fair and I still didn't believe it. And then you make your first, you know, it sticks with someone, right? When I told them a story, you know, they started crying. And I was just like, oh my gosh, Danielle, it means something, right? Because I'm doing it not just, you know, it's not about money. I want to raise awareness and I want to help people like Elise. I also want to get her second opinion to Stanford, right? So I didn't answer the question. Sorry, that's long-winded, but there's my ADHD is, you know, I'm just coming into myself as well. And I think that I'm, you know, repositioning myself, still doing my 9 to 5. You know, I came at 9:45 on my break, of course, just in case anybody's wondering. And, you know, it's important to maintain those things because we don't know where it's going to go, right? So, yeah, I'm trying to stay positive despite, you know, my husband, despite my daughter, despite also me going through my own health things. And yeah, I think that's just relatable, right? Everybody goes through something. We go through things daily, weekly, yearly, and you know, we have to keep ourselves up because who else is going to? So this is my way of touching the world with our products because it's still the same as what we do for CMC is we lead with our heart when you communicate with empathy. But we're doing it, we have now products that come from the heart. So yeah, that's how we're doing.
I love it. No, I love it. I was watching a TikTok yesterday. It was on my FYP. FYP is for your page, by the way. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Was it Elise?
And it was Low and Sons, and the CEO or the founder was actually saying like, by the way, I retired and I started this company at age 65 because I like to travel. And I found that even luxury bags and purses didn't have the simplicity or, you know, the capacity that I want to use my things. So she started, well, she made her 2 sons. That's why it says Low and Sons.
Yeah.
She made her sons, basically, she had 2 sons, create the product with them and canvas, and they're selling it. And their purses and things like that's like 100 something. So it's not like super luxury, but it's canvas. It's something that you can beat up and not, you know, feel so bad.
Yeah.
And really what I was looking at, I was like, oh, that's actually a cool product. And I was thinking, you know, people, that gives me inspiration, right? Like she started at age 65. What's your excuse, CJ? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Right.
that's how I'm looking at it. Like she just started at age 65. I have hope. I have hope. Like, you know, like but I always think that. So I think that's why when we think about comparison, right? And you're like, don't compare. I was like, let me do a caveat. You can compare if it's a positive thing that it boosts you as an inspiration, but don't compare if you actually are dragging yourself down because that's not good for you, right?
Right.
It's okay to compare. That's why I'm like, ooh, an F my brain again. comparison for inspiration is okay, but dragging down comparison is not okay. So there's a caveat on that, which I love. And I love that you are into trinkets because that's what I love. And I'm going to be moving close to Danielle within an hour instead of 7 hours. And we're just waiting me done here in San Diego and moving to Northern California. And maybe Susanna will
Yeah,
like
oh, you know what? I think, sister, it all comes together too. Like, I didn't realize I was like, I wasn't just putting all these things together. Some of the items that we're putting together are curated from small business, minority owned business, people that you wouldn't otherwise see, people that you don't necessarily see talking about the good that they do in the world, right? And I didn't realize that until I was talking the other day. I was like, wait, no. You know, I think when we do something like as sisters, like I'm not doing this by myself because CJ's next to me, Susanna's next to me. When they do something, I'm next to them, right? And we do things together. So I was telling Leo, my husband, I was like, I wish my sisters were here. And I was like, wait, no, they're with me. You know, they're here with me. And about comparison, I did that at the fair. I was like, oh man, their stuff is cuter. Like, how am I going to compare, right? And then somebody had to tell me, like, no, you did well. Like, this is the differentiating part to it. This is what you bring to the table. And the fact that there's a heart behind it and meaning, like, I was like, wait. So don't compare yourself to, because we're all in our own lane. Nobody can do it like we do it. I can't be CJ. I can't be Susanna. I could be Danielle though. And that's what's special about me. And what's funny is that's what I tell my clients when they call me and they're trying to get a job or work through things, is that's what I say. Your biggest superpower is you. And I'm like, here I am telling someone that. I'm like, Danielle, tell yourself that.
that's because we give advice, but sometimes it's hard to take our own advice, right?
Right.
And I know why. I used to think and wonder, why is that?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a concept, okay? Have you seen an apple tree or an orange tree before?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you have an apple tree or an orange tree, you pick up the fruit and you eat it because you love it, right? But do you see an apple tree eat an apple?
No.
Exactly. Right?
No.
Think about
no.
us like that. We are
Yeah.
full of ideas and fruits based on how we grow up, just like the tree grows up and then it has flowers and then the flowers become fruits and now anybody can enjoy.
Yeah.
Human beings, we're not supposed to take our own advice that way, but we try
Right.
to. That's why it's so hard, right? Because you don't want to be labeled as what? Hypocrite. Who created that
Yeah.
rule too? Like
Or
what?
like a copycat, right?
Right?
Like,
So, like Susana said, we're all looping. Oh,
yeah.
Miguel is here. He's painting the house. So if you see him going up and down, yeah. Anyhow, so that's like, yeah, that's why it's hard for us to take our own advice, because if you look at the fruit trees, they don't eat their own fruits. They give it away happily. That's why we do it.
Yeah.
We give it away happily. And I love that concept. I was like, oh, I think I forgot who said that. Oh my God. It was on Instagram because I was scrolling and searching. Why don't we take our own advice? I was
Oh
really
man, that's
deep.
good.
And I love that idea. What do you think, Susanna? Do you agree with that analogy?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm trying to stay away from some of the literal aspects.
Oh my gosh.
Because that part of me is like, yeah, but if they don't pick the fruit, then it all turns into basically fertilizer, and the tree and the new trees with the seeds get it, and blah blah blah. But
Yeah, I know. I was thinking that scientifically,
it's like okay, fine, let's move
Me
on.
too. That's why I paused.
yeah, yeah.
Because it's like
they
it's
do
too
become-
easy to get wrapped up in like it's too easy to see two sides, multiple sides of everything, and it's like stop.
Well, that's actually good because that's an alternative. That's why some people can take that advice and then do it, right? Because I always tell you, like, I'm going to try to take my own advice, but it's very hard. So it's true.
Exactly.
You can,
Well,
those roots do
and
go
it's
on the ground. Yeah.
and it is it I mean, it's hard in terms of too, if you want to, you can take that whole analogy then and take it further. It's hard for us to do it because it takes time for that fallen fruit to decompose and get into the earth system, and it just it takes time. And for us to take our own advice, sometimes it takes time before we get it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
then
be kind to
it's like
yourself.
you've said it so many times that finally it clicks in your head. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I should be taking this advice too.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, we do. And that's why I love and the thought process that we're doing. And it seems chaotic, but we thrive in chaos.
Yeah, maybe we do. Maybe
We
we do.
literally thrive in chaos, sisters. But that's the fun part of life, is that nothing is perfect. So we've actually lived that no perfection is perfect, right? It's always work in progress. It's called wit, work
Yeah.
in progress, right? Like me and my framework again. My
We,
brain goes there. I can't help myself.
No, you
do.
can't. You create an acronym, and then once you've got that acronym, you have to turn it into a framework.
Yeah, and then once it's a framework, I'm like, wait, I got to do my research and see what I can do with that. I love research because I learn so much, and that's the only way I can teach. Before we end, do you have any advice for people, sister, in terms of staying positive? Right. I actually want to encourage you to reframe your words, say, instead of saying trying, because I also said that, like, trying, I'm trying to do this,
Yeah.
but like Yoda said, it's do or do not, right? So I could say, like, I've done harder things before, so today won't be the exception. Or I'm a disciplined optimist. I turn problems into plans. And that's you, Danielle.
Mhm, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
you. You know that, right? You're literally a disciplined optimist. And you turn problems into plans, which I've seen you over and over.
Yeah.
So instead of
And
trying, you're like,
fix.
I'm a disciplined optimist. I'm
Yeah.
going to turn my problem into plans. And that's what we do. We turn our pain into purpose. So that's you. That's how I see you anyway. I'm going to be quiet now. What is your what is your end statement for everybody, sister Danielle? And then we go to Susanna.
Yeah, I would say I may have said this before, but if you're scared, just do it anyway. And the extension of that now is, you know, all someone can do is say no. But what if they say yes? And that first yes just changes the way that you do things. So yeah, do it anyway.
Do it anyway. If you're scared, just do it anyway. Susanna, what about you, sis?
In a way, I'll take that as a starting point. I'm stuck on a word, so it's going to go right back to that silly word. Um, just because you start on a path doesn't mean that you can't make a change. It Too often people are like, you have to keep doing it. You have to keep doing it. It's, crap. I think this was this was one of the problems in my business class on Monday within the slides. But the thing is, you hit a point, and you just have to take a look at where things are at and be aware. Be understanding that you don't have to stay on the same path if it's not right. You can basically do that feedback loop, go back to the planning, and chart a new course, chart a new direction, or chart a way to get around something instead of trying to go through it, when going around would probably be the best choice instead of struggling through it. Even if you've got people around you, sometimes you have to go around it as a group and not get yourself stuck in the middle of something that is just going to be a quagmire that's not going to help anybody.
That's
Feedback
true.
loops.
Feedback loops. I actually wanted to say thank you for showing up brave today, and take one action in 24 hours. Take one action. Share the win and share someone else's win. It doesn't have to be always you. It could be somebody else. And actually, it's better that way because you can compare through inspiration, right? Not doing something else. So we love you guys. It's 10 a.m. Bye, everybody. We'll see you on Sunday. See ya. Bye bye.
Bye.
I started in the silence, behind closed doors. Dreams too loud to keep tucked in the floorboards. Late nights, broke days, no applause in sight. Just coffee, hustling that fire to fight. They said, play small, but I'm built to expand. No silver spoon, just grit in my hand. I will every note, like armor and steel. Visibility's a battle, but I'm real and I heal. From invisible threads to the front of the stage, I'm rewriting the script, turning scars into page. Level up, rise above the fear. Let them hear your voice, make your purpose clear. Every step, every stumble, every tear in the rough. You were made for this moment, you are enough. Level up, break through the doubt. Turn the whispers of your past into a victory shout. You ain't just chasing clout, you're building a legacy. Now the world's gonna see what they couldn't believe. Yeah, yeah. What they couldn't believe. See the back end, just a headline glow. But success is built slow, where the struggle don't show. Algorithms change, but your mission's divine. You're the brand, you're the vision, you're the power behind. You gave free just to prove you have value inside. Now it's invoices paid and your name amplified. You're not just in business, you're changing the game. And your visibility, that's more than a name. No more shrinking, this is expansion. No more asking, this is commanding. You've been the spark, now you're the flame. Entrepreneur by fire, fueled by name. Level up, rise above the fear. Let them hear your voice, make your purpose clear. Every step, every stumble, every tear in the rough. You were made for this moment, you are enough. Level up, break through the doubt. Turn the whispers of your past into a victory shout. You ain't just chasing clout, you're building a legacy. Now the world's gonna see what they couldn't believe. What they couldn't believe. To the late nights, the lost friends, the risks you took, to the brands you built and the space you shook. Here's your crown, your moment, your spotlight beam. You didn't just chase the dream, you became the dream. Level